Welcome back to Forgotten Sands HD. So it's time to look for at least of an entrance to what the Marid spirit told us.
You know, it's kind of a missed opportunity to do a little Aladdin allegory since we are dealing with genies in this game. The King's throne room.
Rakemia. That's a massive throne.
It looks a bit impractical since it doesn't have the shoulder rests, though.
Yeah, it looks uncomfortable. I mean, unpractical.
In the throne room, I was trying to sneak away.
Hold on.
Malik was the responsible.
Of course.
Aw, how ironic.
Father, what
This,
happened?
again, this is all part of the Prince character development. Now he's irresponsible, immature, he has to grow up through these games.
Which got to its culmination in two
We should
thrones.
keep moving.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a passageway under this. It was once meant as an escape
An
route.
escape route.
You'll need to
Uh-huh.
get through. Be careful. The way is guarded
Of
against
course it is.
So let me get
Not
this
sure
straight.
if
An
the
escape
traps are
route
still
that's guarded against
My luck.
intruders. Wouldn't that
Phew.
kind of...
You track over that because that was an obvious moment.
Oh, hey! Look, there's the guards. Just right on time.
Forgotten Sands was filming in front of another live studio audience. But no, you know what this giant throne reminds me, Pedro? Of Ultima 7, where you get to where they're building the throne for the Guardian, and this impractical as fuck is this gigantic throne without the shoulder, you know, the arm resting places on the sides, and it's in a tight, cramped that doesn't fit the gargantuan size of the person who needs to occupy said throne. So, yeah. It doesn't help that the Ultimate games work on a top-down perspective, so the 3D angle is a bit awkward. There we go. Alright, now it's time to find a way to open up the passage of the throne room. There we go. Again, using the powers of the earth that we have been given, we can recreate the quote-unquote memories of the city and materialize these places where they were in the construction. Don't ask me how. It's just magic, I guess. There we go.
Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy.
Now, yeah, this is where also you can find another one of those urns that have the experience points. But again, I don't really need it. This one, just one case is where I show you how you can potentially get it. Mostly because it had been a while since the first time I played the game and when I recorded it. So I forgot a bit the precise route that I was supposed to take. So I thought, oh, I can just take it, then rematerialize the place and then be on the spot. But no. There we go.
The power of memory is able to make solid matter.
Again, it's just magic. We don't have to explain it.
Obviously, of course.
There we go. What we need to do is to jump from here to there. However, I forgot if I point this out, but unlike in some of the previous games, like, well, I know it's an easy target, but Warrior Within, the camera actually cooperates more with you this time around. Flopping all over the place. If you don't remember, was that horrible glitch in Sense of Time that had the camera go all over the place, and then at the end, at the end of the action sequence, made Farah's outfit go berserk.
I'll entail this is a game. This is an Ubisoft game, so action sequence.
Sequence, yeah.
Exactly.
Eves, I don't remember the CEO Eves how much French his accent is.
They seem to have a better grasp on the English language than
Or at
David
least a better
Cage.
idea in pick translators and stuff like that. Anyway, now that I unlocked it, I just need to get down, and then I can use the passage to reach the fabled city of the djinns. Or at least their inner stronghold.
Ahmed, again, I'm kind of a bit underwhelmed with how the city of the djinns doesn't look too different from our city.
Again, it kind of makes sense in the fact that... Oh, there you go.
You see?
Yeah, cue more laugh tracks. It kind of makes sense with the fact that the djinns collaborated with the humans in order to build both cities. So you would expect them to look relatively similar to each other. Or
guess.
at least the fact that Solomon, you know, wanted, well, had no real creativity and wanted instead to be a copycat.
Huh.
But,
Oh!
but again, well, it also helps that both cities are in a ruinous state, therefore, for its modern architecture, they're also easy to, you know, look similar to each other.
Uh-huh.
There we go.
Now, I get the humans putting all that, you know, death trap stuff,
Contraptions.
but with the djinns, couldn't they just fly over a lot of this stuff?
True, that the problem is, like I said, Jova, one of the major problems is that we only see two types of djinn and of elite kind, quote unquote, because Ratash and the Marid are technically considered royalty for their kind, and we don't see djinns of the other elements, so we only need to take what the game shows us. Like I said, I wouldn't mind a future Prince of Persia title expanding, showcasing more about the lore of the different types of djinns and what they did to help the humans. It fits nicely enough, and it takes a good spin that, you know, instead of having to recycle once again the sands of time in one fashion or the other, you know, show there are other existing magical powers, kind of like in true tradition of like the Arabian Nights did, you know, like the stories of Sinbad, the sailor.
So, Tio, if Ubisoft ever actually make a new Prince of Persia game, would you bet that it'll be a continuation of this beloved franchise, or
not
do you think
sure.
it'll be another try it, a new reboot?
I could see both scenarios, but mind you that the 2008 reboot had that purpose in mind, and unfortunately it failed with flying colors. Therefore, I'm not sure what would Ubisoft do in this situation, but I'm guessing probably maybe not a compromise instead. Maybe considering everyone is jumping on the remake trend, maybe trying to remake the Sand original trilogy. You know, do it the new engine and custom modification, and besides, quite frankly, anything that can at least cover to fix slightly the problems of Warrior Within is welcome in my book.
I could definitely see that being the case. Maybe, and if not a remake, a reimagining of this particular trilogy. Seeing as how, again, this trilogy, people do have beloved in their hearts.
Yeah.
And, you know, one
and
and
right
three...
now the franchise is in a more middle spot. Assassin's Creed has taken basically all the spotlight when it's not, you know, stuff like Watch Dogs or Tom Clancy game.
Yeah, I do wonder if, you know, if they do bring back Prince of Persia, I think I agree with you that the best case scenario would be something of a reimagining at worst of this particular trilogy, because, you know, a full-on reboot where it's all different and all that. I mean, I'm not saying that they can't do it, but the last time they tried doing it, it sucked, and to be fair, a lot of people still have this trilogy fresh in their minds, favorable.
This is the origin of the city's water source. Without it, this place would have become a desert long ago. It is this that I have
Have
stayed
you
to
now?
And you failed?
Yeah, I mean...
How do they dare enter here?
There have been enemies galore, honey. You kind of
Alright, time for another horde mode with the complete with the which you need to prioritize your killing.
So, new enemies, it looks like.
No. We encountered them in the sewers, so it's been a bit. Again, well, the game proceeds so fast that you know it's easy to think, oh, this enemy is relatively new when you know encountered it a bit ago.
All right. It's weird how she says they dare enter, yet they look aquatic. Although they seem to also wield lightning.
No, they are sand-based, still sand-based. Is that, well, in a lot of media, considering how the density of sand can be, sometimes similar to water, in a sense of being very, very not resistant to pressure above it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And this autosave fucked me over again.
Oopsie.
Yeah, here's another thing. If some of these games get ported or reimagined, I hope that the other modern console. From my experience, it has been. The games with autosave on the PS4 never gave me this kind of trouble. So there's
Oh!
that. Ow, that was very rude. There we go.
Ow.
Ow.
Jeez.
Oh. We're actually very close now. It's just a matter of time to reach the major chamber. I think it's the treasure chamber and claim the reward.
Hi, Assassin's Creed logo. Seriously.
It's still not, thankfully, but it may be close. It's not a V properly per se. It's more like a teardrop.
I mean,
Water drop.
It looks like that upper A with the curve thing. It's like, it looks so similar in some ways.
Like I mentioned, this is also one of basically being kind of the last dungeon. This is also the place where all your powers get tested sometimes at the same time. So acrobatic-wise, it's a good, refresher for what you have learned. So there we go. Moving on. There we go. I forgot. I didn't mention it when explaining the mechanic, but I didn't mention how I appreciate instead of the fact that they put this small wall run when the prince, grabs a wall. Oh, hold on.
Audio popped out there for a bit.
Again, the auto. When you see that icon on the autosave, expect that.
Yeah.
Okay, the reservoir. This is where things get a bit interesting. Thanks to using the power of memories, you have to create situations where the water is flowing. Basically, creating temporarily an image of not an image, but a plate like a solid foundation of a rock or a tube. This will mean that the water will flow through it and create a grabbable place or a waterfall that you can use to your advantage. There you go, like this. It's a nice integration of both powers at the same time. There we go. Yeah, now if the controls just cooperated. No. There we go.
That's another thing a remake could benefit for. Tighter controls. I mean, don't get me wrong, this game looks like it definitely controls well, but even it looks like it has some of that finickiness.
Also, as you may notice, since it's one of the last levels and this game is so hell-bent on combat more, it's one of those games where their concept of augmenting the difficulties near the end is to throw everything in a kitchen sink at the same time. Because now, as you can see when you start the room, you have several minions or two enemy spawner with the wizards and a giant sub-boss enemy. I make it look easy because it's, easy mode, then I'm maxed out, but normally you will have a hard time in a room like this.
Again, what I just give for this game to actually induct parkour more into its combat, then the combat wouldn't feel so
That's the thing, you technically can, but it's superfluous, so that's the major problem. If they didn't make combat this easy, although mind you, that doesn't mean it has to be extra challenging like the other way around, because otherwise you get a results like Warrior Within, which becomes very tedious as a result. Instead enforced on, say, more tight room with more columns that the prince can use, for example, for his acrobatic skills, that would benefit it better.
So we got a giant.
Yeah, the giant is dead.
But now we got
With
some
the crows,
hogs to use
to propel ourselves basically above. Again, flying enemies are basically an excuse for the game to give you sort of platforms to use to jump higher places. There we go. There
Better
we are.
concentrate hard enough with those memories, otherwise you could be falling to your death. All because you forgot something.
Yeah, there we go. Like I was saying, I appreciate immensely more the small jump run that the prince has when getting onto a wall, because that becomes one, more of a lifesaver, and two, it allows more possibilities when it comes to the parkour stuff. But that is an acrobatic good step on the good direction, one that I wish, if for example those first couple of games gets remade as well, I wish that mechanic could be implemented as well, because that will help us immensely with some of the more bullshit parts of the first couple of games. There we go. A secret room with just a bit of pots to get more stuff.
Lovely.
It's weird because usually that spot will contain something like one of the experience earns, but no, it just has a bunch of health pickups basically. There we go. All right, we're almost. I think we're actually close to the treasure room, the thing we're looking for. Oop.
Wow, that autosave.
Yeah, again, not a fan.
That's so weird. Like, I don't recall
It's
the
weird
other
because,
games having
I'll
this
remind you,
issue.
it's not completely consistent. There are some games that with the autosave on my PS3 actually work fine. So I don't know exactly what triggers it. Like I mentioned, this was a digital download for me, so maybe it could be that potentially. Who knows?
Wouldn't surprise
Come on!
me. Whoa.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. That takes care of him
Yeah,
quickly.
like I said, you can also use bottomless speed to your advantage in order to have enemies fall onto from them. Sometimes you get even a special animation with the prince pushing the enemies down.
Huh. Nice.
I mean, this was, although it was like a couple of years later, this was still around the time where the DC Sparta meme was rampant on the internet, so I guess Ubisoft couldn't resist. Oops.
Well, hold on. If that were the meme, wouldn't it be him kicking them?
Sometimes he does. Like when he's like a ledge or something, the animation is that him pushing him with a kick.
Ah.
If it's like a balcony instead, he just shoves them with the weapon.
Thank God
There we
somebody
go.
just placed that tarp right there after that slide.
The sword you seek is behind that statue. When
Is
this
that King?
Were you just talking over her?
You knew a
Don't
man.
Again,
interrupt! Don't
that-
interrupt you!
That's the
Can't imagine your
autosave.
legends do him justice.
So,
He was
Oh
a
my
so
God.
rude.
Yeah.
man. You asked me why I stayed here. Even had I wanted to leave, I could not abandon the city he called home.
Basically, the djinns that were loyal to King Solomon, they also had a bond of friendship with him. So, in honor of his death, also
It's
stayed.
usually not a good sign.
Oh boy.
More horde mode, yay!
Oh, that's it?
Again, this is since this were the last stretch of the games. This is where the horde mode rules become more and more aggressive, like that. Unnecessarily, mind you. Like I would want to add.
Yeah, like seriously, they opened that cutscene up like it was something different, and now it's
I mean,
just
it
more
technically is. It's just that things up again. I prefer this over what were within those, where there are barely any cutscenes at all. But
Okay.
still,
Well, which would you say paced its fights out better, this or Warrior Within?
this, like I said, I think this is better. Just not in a complete spectacular way, but this is still better.
It's weird. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I do believe that the game overall of the Sense Saga that does it better is obviously Sense of Time, mostly because most of the time you're with Para, therefore, even if you don't get major cutscenes, the characters talk constantly with each other.
And Pharaoh's also there to help you out during combat in some cases with her
Yeah,
bow
as
and
far as
arrow.
escort mission goes, Perry is actually a fine escortee. But yeah, in general, I do believe Sense of Time has the best pace in terms of talkativeness and actual rooms with combat. Mind you, that doesn't change when it comes to the actual combat. Sense of Time still has bullshit moments where you have a huge gang of enemies forming up, and since it's a sort of a prototype first entry, the combat is very rudimentary in that game. If you don't remember, you can die on a lot of occasions and for the most bullshit reasons. So.
Oh, well, hey, at least you got Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones, which kind of refines the formula.
Yeah, it's the middle ground that we needed. There we go.
I think what's weird
Oh,
is
great,
like,
the
well,
one other one.
oh, great. You know what's weird is like, well, by this point in time, though, Warrior Within had kind of its more negative reception. I mean, okay, it's like you said, upon launch, Warrior Within did get some praise, but I'm pretty sure that by the time of, this game's making, Warrior Within had more of a negative reputation. Heck, that's partly why they, paid mine to feedback for The Two Thrones. So why would they default to something that people didn't like from Warrior Within?
I don't know.
Ubisoft. Sometimes your decisions really
Or more
really
specifically,
worry
the
me.
people, specifically the developers. I mean, I'm not exact. I don't think developers should get away scot-free with problems in games all the time.
Yeah.
And Ubisoft are definitely no exception. Like,
Sometimes it's a conjunct effort, sometimes it's one problem, sometimes it's another. It really depends.
It's never black and white. I mean, hell, with the industry being he said, she said, industry anyway. Before we know the problems who we thought were down to like one could be actually down to another, or vice versa, or both, and so on.
case in point, Capcom and KJ Inafune.
Well, sometimes not just that, it also sometimes it can be even outside forces that are even beyond the company's control. Sometimes,
Like someone dying.
In case, all that too. But in case you don't remember, Dweebs, if you want name for this particular HD version, I think was done by the the Montreal team. The Quebec one did the Wii version, and the other two teams were Singapore and Casablanca, which did the PSP and DS versions. Yes, apparently Ubisoft has a team in Casablanca.
Huh.
That webs, or even when third-party outside development partners do shitty shit without telling the company that's working for them, like it happened recently with Inazuma 11 Aris.
Or aliens.
Basically, Jove. Well, basically, Jove. The Inazuma 11 reboot game, Inazuma 11 Aris, despite the anime already being 50 episodes in, is still not out because Level 5 had to restart development from scratch. Because in order to try to get the game ready for the World Cup 2018, Level 5 hired a development partner that could, help them develop the game faster. However, Jove, Hino specifically had to come in and apologize to the fans, saying that unfortunately the department we had, they were doing really, really poor work, and they were even doing things without telling us. Hold on.
No. Basically, the prince just remembered the Marie's word. We need to move the statue basically using that lever there. Go on.
Basically, I forgot the exact thing. It's been a while. Let me just get it so I don't misrepresent the thing. Go ahead, Dubs.
They fucked up.
In the meantime, I don't do this, but in general, since I mentioned in the past, unfortunately, the Casablanca studio of Ubisoft actually was closed in 2016, 13 June, for Ubisoft, because Ubisoft was restructuring some of its minor studios to do it. One of its most noticeable games that they did was the Nintendo 64 ports of, not port, but version of Donald Duck going Quackers, or Quack Attack in Europe.
Did no one seriously play to set and realize how jarring it sounds?
What, with the autosave?
Yeah.
I don't know, Drovak.
Again,
For all I know, it could really be tied also to how old my copy may
yeah,
be.
again, it makes him sound rather rude, interrupting people.
Yeah.
Oh, here you go.
Sorry.
Sorry.
That was borderline hilarious. How bad it was.
Okay.
Okay, what we need to do now, since the statue is open, as you can see there are columns of water, so you need to use the water stopping power here, and to reach the door before it closes. So that's kind of ingenious to get to the door in time. I'll need to ask you to wait a second, Pedro, because we're finally
it's
about
okay.
to get the
Yeah,
sword.
Sure.
There it is.
It's totally
Oh,
not
okay.
a trap.
Okay,
It's
okay,
literally
okay, I know
embedded
this
into
one.
the skull of a dragon.
Oh, I know this one. No, actually, sorry. No?
If any part of Malik is
It's
still
not
alive,
the Brotherhood,
forgive me for this.
and not the Water Sword or Warrior Within, but that will do.
Oh!
I guess
actually, it
to do
opens a
this.
place instead of trapping us in there. How ironic.
It wasn't meant. Remember, this place wasn't meant to discourage scavengers or something.
Yeah, despite all the traps.
Well, it was just to avoid potential.
What?
What? Please, what are you doing?
What was that?
Remember, the platform itself was one that could have disappeared due to the remembrance power. So what I'm thinking was that it was not sort of clipping, but not registering it to be completely, to be completely active, basically. But right now we have the sword, but we need to know from the Varid if it's enough to defeat Ratash or we need something more. It should be enough, technically. So let's get to the portal and see what she says.
Oh, so now the music doesn't
I
disable
do
while
not think we should delay
auto-saving.
much longer.
I'm ready. But my own sword barely caught that Ratash's attention. How will
It's
this one
a
stop
magical
him or the army?
sword.
This sword was built for this purpose. To destroy what one djinn has created requires the magic
But
of
of
another.
course.
I don't understand.
Give me the sword. I will show you. Godratajen Azanatobad.
And there we go.
She's in the sword now, isn't she?
Razia!
Yep.
I am
She's
alright.
like Fee now.
She has
from,
sacrificed their own essence to be part of the sword, so to make her powerful.
With my power,
she's like
you will be able
Fee
to
from
attack
Skyward
Ratash.
Sword.
No, Dweebs, she's not emotionless.
I do not
So
know.
I was
she's
going
more
to say,
like-
We will
you've got
see when we defeat
5%
him.
battery power left.
Now we
So
must
she's
push.
more like an
This is
Aegis
for
from
nothing if you
Xenoblade
cannot
Chronicles
destroy the
2.
army.
But yeah, with this, we're finally ready to face Ratash. And this sword actually proves to be really useful. I think I'm gonna show you, in this part too, because it almost insta-kills all enemies. So this last stretch before the final boss is gonna be a
Now
cakewalk.
I suppose
But
we
is
must
it as
And,
powerful?
and weirdly enough, this gives a good excuse
do not think
for
that
the
will
priest to
be
interact more with Razia. Why couldn't we have this more like from the Alpha Point, for example? Because this
Yeah.
actually becomes more closer to what was in a sense of time, because the priest now is a partner to which he talks to. But yeah, it's for the last stretch.
It
But
is
anyway,
kind of
go
neat,
on,
Sidebander.
Pedro. In the meantime.
Basically, Jova during a live stream at Level 5's YouTube channel, Hino was explaining what happened since that right here. Because they wanted to release Elysium 11 Hours in time for the 2018 World Cup, they decided to hire another company to help develop part of the game. According to Hino-san, this company accepted the job, even though it didn't have enough employees to develop what they were assigned to.
Oh
I
dear.
did
To make
not
things worse, the company purposely hid this fact from Level 5 for a long time. Level 5 did all their
It
work,
is
but by the
also
time they
rather
realized what was
unsettling
happening,
to
releasing the
read
game by
this
July
fact.
2018 was impossible. Hino explained that they couldn't use the work that the company provided either, as the game wouldn't have turned out satisfying at all. And Level 5 didn't want fans to think they don't care about Elysium 11 anymore. As such, Level 5 partnered up with a new company and we started developing from scratch. Basically, this is another thing. Development partners who are dishonest, and my guess is this company wanted to, work with a famous studio to gain notoriety, even though they were completely over their
Possible.
heads.
Also, if you have noticed that when you slash your sword, you hear some extra noises. That's actually the Marid, basically. There you go, doing that with the since this is part of a sword anyway. But yeah, you may notice also from the dialogue, the banter between the prince and the Marid in combat is actually relatively funny. Again,
Yeah.
why couldn't we have more with this game? You know,
It reminds me of Sonic and Caliburn and Sonic and the Black Knight. A good testament to how good that game's writing is, and that's how it is throughout the entirety of the game. I mean, okay, I think Prince of Persia is often at its best writing-wise when the prince has
when the
someone to
prince has
bounce
someone
off
to
of.
talk, to talk with.
They
with a
solved
partner
that
and
with
everything.
Two Thrones by having him speak to his inner darker self. That was nice and amusing enough, and kept the talks going up well here and there.
But instead, when you have occasions like War Within, where you have this long stretch where the prince doesn't say anything at all, and when he finds someone to talk with, he's extremely, distant because he's on enemy territory and has no friends. So even when Kailina offers his help at the beginning, he's very edgy, shy due to his edgy nature. So that's...
yeah.
Again, that's a key problem with the character itself. The prince, it's about someone getting the prince right, basically. It's kind of like it's kind of like we think about it.
And I mean, it's weird though that again, I think part of the issue with this game is like, well, this game feels like it regresses to some of the issues that Warrior Within had. Like, I mean, like you said, only now are we properly getting this banter side to side when we could have done this way earlier into the game. And yeah, there's the combat issues too. Not that the combat here is bad like Warrior Within, but it's overdrawn out.
Again, to give credit where it's due, again, this last stretch is kind of a cakewalk because thanks to the sword, you're practically an unstoppable machine of destruction.
Yeah.
So there's the fun in that, in being disgustingly OP. But we should, again, we probably... see, I don't know.
But yeah, this sword does look deliciously OP.
The design itself is fine, not the more interesting that I've seen. If you don't know, I didn't talk.
Oh, of course. But you didn't seem to like the last staircase.
For good reason, honey. Wow, this really was filmed before a live audience.
I don't think I talked that much enough. Well, I did talk a bit in the Ni no Kuni 2 run, for example, but when it comes to video games, don't ask me why. I'm guessing it's just a thing of me. I'm really interested about in weapon designs, how weapons are designed, how they look in a particular game, what their usage is, and all that jazz.
And what you first thought of when you saw the keyblade.
And yes, but right now, in general, Level 5 as a company manages to get games with a consistent, very good weapon design.
Yes. Apparently there's a weapon design master at Level 5, but nobody knows who he is because I have yet to find a game that actually credits a weapon designer.
Maybe it's still tied to the character designers and he gives like a specific direction when it comes to the weapons. I don't know.
Is there quite possibly like an art manager?
But because...
Well, there is Jova. The character designer of Ni no Kuni is Momose from Ghibli.
No.
Well, former from Ghibli, but the art director is Nobuyuki Yanai. Maybe it's him.
But keep in mind that the other thing is that it's consistent. Not in a sense consistently good on the same quality, but it's consistent in a sense that from what I've seen in the games I played, Rogue Galaxy, Jeanne d'Arc, Ni no Kuni, and similar, and also White Knight Chronicles for that matter, the weapons design is very similar in those games. Obviously applied on a different scale because one is for the PSP, the other for the PS2, one other for the etc. But it really looks consistent.
In that case, too, using my knowledge, the only consistent possibility I can think of is Nobuyuki Yanai, because Yanai was part of the original group that founded Level 5 with Reno, and he's been the head of the art department up until this point, so maybe it's him.
This is also, oh sorry, the weapon design argument is also one of the reasons why I tend to talk a lot when it comes to Final Fantasy VII about the Buster Sword. Obviously due to Final Fantasy VII being very nostalgic to me, but there's the fact that I will talk a bit more of this later and we'll get to stuff of the compilation, but for some particular reason that's explained in some of the games, Square designed to redesign a bit the Buster Sword for the compilation in a design that I really don't like. They ditched the more crude appearance to give it a more elaborate, angelic, like gold
Handle.
handle. Thank you, Java. Handle. But that's a topic for another day. For now, we finally reach once again the palace, getting back to the surface. So, see you guys for the epic conclusion of his mid-quote.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.